Welcome to Unfiltered with Mike DeZonia on WILI 1400 AM 95.3 FM. And today in studio, we have back our co-hosts Curtis Ehler and Chris Reddy. And we have a great show ahead for you today. We do take call-ins, 860-456-1400. So if you have any questions for us, if you want to yell at us, if you want to, whatever you want to do, you call in, let us know what's on your mind. We're going to start the show off today. Let's start a little bit with the convention that just happened this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to jump in and tell you because I was there for the entire thing, Friday night, Saturday. Friday night started off with the uncontested races, which were the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the Comptroller, the Treasurer. We ended up with 4 great candidates. I personally know all 4 of them and actually had a meet and greet in Brooklyn just a couple of weeks ago with all of these candidates, starting with the Secretary of State from the town of Fairfield. We have Peter Lamage. He's an attorney. He is a first-generation immigrant from Albania and really smart guy. I enjoy talking to him every time I have the opportunity. Great candidate for Secretary of State. Very much committed to election integrity, fighting voter fraud. He's going to be a great Secretary of State come January.
Yeah, I mean, and he fought for everything. You know, getting here, his battle, his life story is just incredible.
Yeah,
and you know what he fought to get out of. You know, he's a good guy. He's been to Wyndham Willimantic, you know, several times. Great man. Yeah,
and really the embodiment of the American dream. He came here and was very successful, and now he's running for Secretary of State for Connecticut. Second, Jen Tooker from Westport. She is going to be our state comptroller. We have Fred Wilms from Norwalk, who is our treasurer. And our attorney general from the town of Westport will be the candidate John Bolton. So those are our endorsed party candidates for November. Saturday was the 2 top-of-the-ticket conventions that went on, and that was for governor and lieutenant governor. And boy, was it a different convention than we expected just 2 weeks ago. It went very well. We expected it to probably take a little bit longer than it did, but I want to say that there really were a lot of very significant moments with the speeches and then with the delegates selection and the delegates voting for these 2 candidates. There became the point where the challenger recognized that it would be beneficial for the Republican Party to show unity and say, look, here's the results. We're not going to primary. We're not going to challenge this at all. The delegates have decided who the top of our ticket's going to be. And those are really unifying moments, which I think are extremely important within our party in Connecticut, because we have had a history of having kind of a fractured party at different times,
right.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Definitely.
So this was really a really great moment. I want to say it was the best convention that I've been to in that regard. And at the top of the ticket, as everyone has heard in the past few days, we have a previous guest on our show, the show on Thursdays that I have. Ryan Fazio will be our gubernatorial candidate for the Republican Party. And right below that, we have Matt Corey, who is somebody that I spent a lot of time with in 2024, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job as lieutenant governor. He is a small business owner who really went out of his way to make sure that there was opportunities for young adults in Connecticut, and he employed people who had previously been incarcerated and really gave them opportunities to develop work skills and the ability to succeed in Connecticut. So, you know, I commend him for that. I've known Matt for a number of years. I think that he's going to be a fantastic candidate for lieutenant governor. So overall, I'm going to say that we had a great time at Mohegan Sun. We had a lot of very enthusiastic Republicans. There was over 1,000 delegates from across the state that showed up there for both Friday and Saturday to cast their choice for all of these different state-level positions. Coming up this week, Tuesday, will be all of the senatorial district conventions across the state of Connecticut, and on Thursday will be the state representative conventions. So those will be happening locally, not nearly the pomp and circumstance of the state convention.
Right.
These will be much smaller, I'm going to say, conventions, and attendance-wise, you're going to be looking at dozens of people rather than thousands of people that will be in attendance to these.
Now, we saw a lot of unity at the state Republican convention that happened at Mohegan Sun this weekend. Are we expecting that same kind of unity when we deal with the state senatorial and the state representative candidates and their respective conventions?
Well, they always do a good job at unity, so I'm going to give them that. However, unlike the Republican Party in Connecticut, the Democratic Party is slated to have a primary come August, and this is right at the top of the ticket. You have our incumbent Ned Lamont going for his third term as governor, and surprisingly, Josh Elliott, a state representative, and I forget the I don't remember off the top of my head his his state rep district, but I know that it's down along I want to say it's down along the south east or southwest corner of Connecticut, where he is, and he managed to get 25% of the delegate vote. So there will be a primary between Josh Elliott and Ned Lamont, and already that's starting to look a little bit ugly, because even before the convention, I started seeing stuff on social media where within the party they're calling each other names, and that really isn't a good look. Yeah,
and it seems like besides just with the position, with the candidacies, there's a problem in the Connecticut Democratic Party that extends beyond these candidates, and it's the question of the fiscal guardrails. Possibly the most popular single political issue
voting item
of ours or anyone else's lifetime in Connecticut.
Yeah, more people voted for those fiscal guardrails in 2017 than for any candidate ever. Like, more people were concerned about that than they were about who they voted into office. So that tells you how important this is to people.
But a sizable chunk of our Connecticut Democratic Party doesn't believe in the guardrails as is, wants to see change, and they're willing to fight over it.
They see that excess revenue that we're holding in these rainy day funds and funds to help pay down the debt, the pension debt that we owe.
Yep.
And they see that as there's more money to spend, where we're looking at it from a standpoint of paying down what we owe so that our kids have an opportunity in the future.
Right.
And also, we look at it from the standpoint of simply, you're taxing us too much. If there's that much extra and you can't abide by these guardrails, that's too much. You are stepping way over how much we need to be paying in taxes for this small state.
And this isn't some fringe thought within the Democratic Party at large, too. I mean, you're seeing that's the ideal, the mentality that's winning in the state of New York, right next door, our neighbors. This is how they managed to balance their state budget in New York and their city budget in the city of New York this year, is by deciding that they were going to use the money that they were going to be spending down their pension debt, using that to balance their city and state budgets. This is we all know the consequences of this. You know, like the bill comes due, people, and it's going to come due when your children or your grandchildren are there, and they're the ones that have to foot it, not us.
That's a dangerous game to play, because in the future, if things change, and for instance your credit rating drops significantly as a state, you are not going to be able to renegotiate any of that in the future. Like, you are going to be paying horribly, because you're going to tip right over that precipice where now your debt is growing at a rate even greater than it was before. So we really need to be very careful at this point, especially with something that we talked about in the past couple of weeks, and that is the finality of the ARPA funds. We are on a precipice where we could be within a year at that $1 billion deficit point, because They're trying to keep up with spending that went with ARPA funding, one-time funding, because there was a pandemic that shut down our country. And if that isn't there, who's picking that tab up? It's us.
That's right.
The taxpayers.
The taxpayers are going to be on the hook for that. You know, and it's you're talking about that on the state level, but now let's take a step back and you look at people call up and they want me to answer the phone while I'm on the show. I'm not doing it. So you take a look back and look at it as a town thing. Okay, it's the same thing happening at a smaller level. However, they don't look at the big picture. And if we do that and we spend all that extra money, we've got money that's come in. There's money sitting in rainy day funds, and this is what they go by. You're talking your credit rating. If we dispose of all that, you no longer have a credit rating. So I think every trick in the book has been played locally this year on how do we make this budget look better than what it actually is.
Oh, 100%.
I've got a lot of people calling me up and saying, hey, is it legal to use the monies from the third floor project at the town hall to pay off other stuff? When the voters voted on a project,
a specific appropriation
for that money, and now we're using it to pay off other things. When you look at it in that light, you're like, wow, that is pretty shady. And what's happening is it's all coming back on the taxpayer. And we've got a lot of local politicians right now that see this new state money coming in, and they're salivating. And we're looking at new positions, everything new. And I mean, it's like, I feel like, somebody made a good reference to tax time. And you have certain people that get really good tax returns every year, more than what they paid in, because you got different income brackets and things like this, earned income credit, this and that. Now, instead of going and taking that money and using it for school or education or paying down some of your debt, they're going and they're buying things like new nails, stereo systems for the car, things like this. And then come July, they're broke again and they're in need. And this is kind of what the town is doing. Except for on the town side, if we mismanage this money this year, next year, it's really going to hit us hard.
Now, you're talking about the state money. That's that one-time supplemental funds. There's two different aid packages. One for municipal aid, that's specifically to help out your general government sort of operations, and then also an education aid. Two separate pots of money. $100 million for towns, 170-ish million for education, and Wyndham made out really pretty well. Combined over $5.5 million between town and education aid. This is one-time aid as far as we're aware. Explicitly, the town aid is written into the SB1.
They aren't sure about the ECS.
Right.
The ECS could be a recurring fund, but I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's important.
And that's really important. And once we get that, that will help us out dramatically. But you've got to look back. We have not been properly funded or had a change in that fund since 2013.
Yeah, so you've been underfunded for a long time.
Underfunded for a long time, so that whole mandates, unfunded mandate thing. This is what we're talking about when we scream unfunded mandates. And the school system, yes, they are drastically underfunded when it comes to mandates by the state.
Absolutely. So these one-time funds that we're getting from the state this year and this year only, so far as we know, $5.5 million for a town the size of Wyndham goes a long way.
Yes.
That money, according to the governor and every major player in the state legislature's press release, was supposed to do two things. It was supposed to offer some property tax relief in this year, and it was supposed to help stabilize your services, your education services, and your town services. Now, you can interpret that a lot of ways. I'm sure the people sitting behind the microphones here today, and we're working on that every day, working up to our next town budget referendum, we see stabilizing our services as what are the things that are driving the costs and the spiraling increase in tax bills in this town. How do we get that under control so we can continue to fund what we've got right now, while still using this money to offer tax relief? I think it's totally doable. I think there's a pathway to do exactly that. This town, Windham, it's not too complicated. It's an issue of priorities. And in the case of our tax and spend politicians, everything's a priority.
Right.
Every idea is a good idea, and we should borrow for it. We can pay for it over the next 28 years, and somehow magically it will pay for itself. There'll be grants and revenues, and it will all be, like our parking garage. You see, how much an hour do you pay to park in that new town parking garage there on Main Street, Willimantic?
I'm this year I'm paying double what I did last year, and last year was nothing.
So this is the sort of situation that we're in. We borrow, and we don't have the capacity to pay. At the same time as we have been increasing our borrowing, on the town side, on the general government side, we've seen our recurring revenues just quickly disappearing.
Yes.
We know about the healthcare fund. That was about $1.1 million a year in a good year, every year reliably. That's gone. That's off the table. The dispatch center, our partnering towns have left. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars off the table, between the 911 tax fees and then the partnership fees. Now we're seeing that like we talked about imaginary budgets. We saw unbelievable estimates for how many people were going to continue to use our transfer station, even after we tripled the costs of using the transfer station. And Mike, you can speak to that. You've been to the transfer station recently. I've been avoiding it like the plague.
Unbelievable. I can't. And I actually reached out at our last meeting and said something about it. I mean, you take a pickup load of trash to the trash bulky waste, it's called, $180. Mm-hmm. I have a 6-foot bed on my pickup truck. I mean, come on. You can go for under $300 a ton down at Casella, who's a for-profit company, and dump it for a fraction of the cost. So what are we doing to our taxpayers? We've got to stop and we've got to think about that. A good point you brought up was with the healthcare. Okay, that's one thing. It cost that immediate shock. To us, the cost plus the money coming in, the revenue coming in by that. And I talked to one of the Board of Ed members, and what they told me was, hey, for years, the town's been taking our money. They've been spending our money. This money coming in, that was for the Board of Ed. So we cut our nose off, basically, to spite our face, because Board of Ed money, and from what town? It's not Hebron, it's not Columbia, it's Board of Ed from Windham. So we took it to go towards the Windham taxpayers. Now,
specifically to pay down the debt.
To pay down debt service.
And I think it's fair to say that a sizable proportion of our debt is on school projects.
Sure, it definitely is. And the other thing, you go and you look at is, I've kind of lost my train of thought on this one. You're paying off them services, and then they complain that the teachers were actually being charged more for the health insurance than what they actually should have been. I agree, 100%. But guess what? It wasn't the town charging them. It was the Board of Education.
Absolutely.
So their own Board of Education, sitting down with their union reps, decided how much the teachers were going to pay. So no matter what the union reps say when they come back, no matter what the Board of Ed says when they come back, this was how it was done. It never came to the town. That never goes to Board of Finance. That never goes to Town Council. That is 100% Board of Ed function. You want to be mad, teachers? Be mad at your Board of Ed and your union reps, because that's where it came from. So yes, you were overpaying, but to do it the way it was done, I believe was wrong. It was a cut your nose off to spite your face, and it really hurt this town.
Oh, 100%. I mean, $1.1 million in a town where your general government plus debt service budget is
Mm-hmm.
22 million a year. That's a nice big chunk. You're talking in the neighborhood of 5% of your general government budget plus debt service. So it's a lot. So we've seen the loss of over $1 million in the healthcare fund revenue. We've seen the loss of hundreds of thousands with the dispatch center. We've seen dramatic overestimates of how we're going to capture revenue when we jack up the price of services in town. And now we're just seeing this in the paper and hearing it on here on WILI. We've had 3 partner towns pull out of our tax collector's office. They're no longer receiving tax collection services from the town of Wyndham. That's recurring revenue year after year. That's gone forever. That's gone.
Right.
So we need to figure out how it's coming back. We are borrowing too much, and our revenue is disappearing. And when your fee revenues and partner revenues disappear, and your general government administrators and politicians aren't willing to cut the budget, where do you make up the difference? Your property tax
property
bill.
taxes has to happen. So we look at that, and the big story. A lot of people are saying, we lost the partner towns. We've got a new tax collector, or assessor.
Both.
Both. Now, when we talk about this, I haven't really had personal conversation, but a lot of people are worried that we're getting into almost a predatory collections type system.
Oh, yeah. You've heard a lot about that during this budget season.
I mean, and we're talking about hiring private investigators to go out to your general public, your properties, your local businesses, and just start auditing them. This is dangerous. I understand, your police department drives by, sees unregistered vehicles, take a look, run the plate, whatever your case may be. But you start sending private investigators and private companies who are a for-profit, they're there to make a profit. So they are going to keep finding and keep digging. And that's just what's going to happen. Businesses are going to pull out. You're going to lose the revenue you currently have. And there again, now that elderly family, that young family that just bought their home and didn't realize everything that went along and all the drama in town, they're stuck with that.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to be upside down in their purchase. And the elderly people, they just can't afford it. And a lot of them don't want to move away from their families and things that are holding them there.
Absolutely.
In town.
Yeah, hearing that argument online, it's just so sad. If you don't like it, just move. I mean, the people that they're shouting at. I mean, they when you're older, go ahead and tell me when you're 75, 80, 85 years old that you're packing up your own van, you're listing your own property, you're getting it cleaned up and ready for sale, and that you're hauling yourself across town. That's just a burden, a cost, and an ability that our senior citizens just don't have.
Right. It's unrealistic.
And you look at the other end of the spectrum, you have the young families that desperately want to be part of home ownership.
Absolutely.
And now they're budgeting on generally, I'm going to say, jobs where you couldn't go to your employer and say, hey, my property tax jumped 20% this year. I need a 20% raise.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, but these are, young families with significant costs, child care, family, care, and all the bills that go along with having a family. You jump property taxes 20% or 15% or 30% year after year after year. You're not going to be able to even get out of the house. For somebody to say, well, just move. What happens if you've only been in a house for a few years and you have no equity?
Right.
Now you have to come to $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 to closing just to get out of a house that you can't afford.
Right.
Stop. Just stop.
So we're coming to the center of our show. We're going to be taking a quick commercial break here at WILI 1400 AM 95.3 FM with Mike on Unfiltered. Welcome back to WILI 1400 AM 95.3 FM. You're listening to Unfiltered with Mike DeZonia, Curtis Ehler, and Chris Reddy. So today our second half. We're gonna talk about the just failed budget. Budget? That's a new word.
Yep.
The budget. The budget referendum here in Windham. We had a large turnout, but what I'd like to do is, whether you voted for or against the budgets, I'd like you to call in, tell us why you voted either way. Because I like to know myself, being on the town council. Curtis is here; he's on the board of finance. What people think really lets us know how to do our jobs. And Chris is
You
ready.
have to listen to perspective from your constituents. That's the whole point of being an elected official. So by
Right.
all means, we're open to the conversation. Call in. We'd love to discuss the recent referendum with you.
Right. And it's 860-456-1400. That's 860-456-1400. Not my personal cell phone.
Now, I do hope we get callers because the results in this referendum were unique to me this year. There was definitely a different split. Now I know that it's hard to call in sometimes. I know it's hard to be public, to get on Facebook or get on the radio, because there have been some nasty tensions
Sure.
online and in person, and some accusations being thrown around about what kind of person you are if you want to vote yes, what kind of person you are if you want to vote no. But we really need to hear it, because this year the results. This wasn't a typical referendum in Windham.
No, not at all. I mean, it surprised me. I actually personally worked at the Windham Center, which normally goes a certain way. But once I looked at the numbers from the other polling places, and then I looked at the ones from Windham Center, that really told me something, that what was on people's minds. And it's affordability of living. I think that's really on people's minds.
Now, there definitely is some truth there, because, like you had talked about before, you had volunteered to work the polls at Windham Center Firehouse.
Right.
Now, of our 4 voting districts here in town, it's fair to say that the most fiscally conservative, the most fiscally aware polling place year after year is the Windham Center
Right.
Firehouse.
Yes,
That's fair to say. So you would think that historically being the case, that if a referendum vote were to go no, if a budget referendum were to go no, Windham Center polling place would be the place where they would vote no the strongest.
Right.
That's not what we saw this year. There are 2 polling places for the Windhams and 2 polling places for the Willimantic residents, the Willimantic voting district. One that's more affluent, one that's less affluent. Out in Windham, we have Windham Center Firehouse, and we have the Windham residents that vote at the Elks Club. The more affluent being Windham Center, the less affluent being the Elks voters. Windham residents, Windham voting district residents, strongly outvoted no on this budget, on this town budget this year. In Willimantic, you saw the same. The less affluent overall voting polling place is at the VFW. VFW voters, Willimantic voters that vote at the VFW, have been trending over the last few years stronger and stronger towards no votes, stronger and stronger towards being a fiscally conservative polling place. Something that hardly ever happens. Voting against the Willimantic taxing district budget, pretty uncontroversial budget. It's your fire department, it's your police department. VFW still voted no.
Right.
This speaks to your idea that this is a vote based on affordability. This is a vote based on family budgets, and this is a vote on people saying that they'd be happy to, they just don't got it.
Right. It's we're at different time right now. I think, everybody knows I go out and I service a lot of people, residents in this community, and I have had grown men coming to tears about bills and things they have when I go to service their homes. They just don't have the money. Asking for, is there any way you can get me on a payment plan? And I'm talking for a $200-300 service. These people are strapped, and they are strapped hard.
Yeah.
And so when in the polls, the numbers showed it. The numbers showed it.
How was turnout overall? I know we mentioned this before. Now that you have some numbers, was it increased over previous referendums?
Oh, was it ever? This was this budget vote, this budget referendum last Tuesday. Probably the best turnout that I've seen in my adult life. 1,300 voters, over 1,300 voters coming out. And Mike, you work the polls almost every year. What does that compare to how you usually see?
At one point, we actually called in because you call in the numbers every hour.
Yeah.
And midday, we were over double of the votes. And generally speaking, Wyndham Center is more or less a early morning to late afternoon polling place. But, it carried right through the day. All the polling places were busy. I know the registrars were scrambling back and forth, all three. So it was a very healthy day for Wyndham Willimantic as far as voter participation.
That's great.
We would always love to see more.
Yeah.
But hey, this was a really big step. There was a lot of people came out for whatever reason, and I don't think it was partisan pushed. I don't think there was I really don't. I don't believe that the parties went out and really pushed it any more than they do normally.
Yeah, there's just no way mathematically that this could have been a party line vote. I mean, when I say that the Wyndham voters, the Wyndham Elks voters, voted heavily, voted strongly against this budget, we're talking 30-70, yes to no. I mean, there's just statistically there's not enough Republicans in that entire district to account for a 30-70 no vote. That's just it. That this is not a partisan issue. This is a pocketbook issue. This is a family budget issue.
And this is really where we need. I'm not saying we need to be where budgets go down, but what we need to start seeing when we're voting is we've got to get away from that partisan vote. We've got to step back from the lines, and we've got to look at who's running, why are they running. Look at we have some great people that are coming in. I'm going to call him my friend because he's the first politician that really came down to Willimantic. Besides you.
Oh, thank you.
Besides you, but what I'm talking is for the other races.
Yes.
George Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, this man has been he's been out there, out and about, public, and he knows. He's a contractor. He knows what the people are feeling.
Absolutely.
He's living it every day.
And he didn't just start. Like, this has been getting close to a year now where he has consistently been all over the 2nd Congressional District.
Yeah.
That was one of the races that happened on Friday. All of the Republican congressional district candidates, all 5 of them in Connecticut, were nominated for the Republican Party on Friday. George did get the nomination.
Yes.
He was unopposed on Friday. So, previous guest of ours on both the shows, congratulations to George.
Absolutely.
Securing the CT2 congressional district nomination for the Republican Party. I have seen his development firsthand as a candidate. Yeah. Do not underestimate what he is capable of. He is a great candidate. He has an amazing ability to connect with everyone. I've been there at events where we talk to a broad range of people, and he is able to reach some sort of mutuality where he can have a very good conversation with everyone. He is really going to be a good candidate, and he is going to continue making those appearances across Eastern Connecticut.
Yeah. And that's what we need. Is we need new candidates of all stripes, but we need new candidates. We need new ideas. We see it here in town with this budget vote. It's not. This is well beyond a partisan issue.
Yes.
This is a bipartisan. Townwide, this was not close, folks. This was a 16-point spread. This was a shellacking. Like that's just what our That's just how our vote came in. This is not Republicans versus Democrats. This is people. Unfortunately, if the same people, the same politicians year after year are the ones writing our budgets for us to vote on, we're gonna be in the same place. We need new politicians. So it's great to see it at the local level, and Mike's done an awesome job in bringing new people to this party here in town. And it's great seeing people like George Washington step up to run for 2nd Congressional District here. Hopefully, we're going to be representing us in Washington, D.C. George, we thank you, and we thank all these new people for stepping up, because that's really what we need is new ideas.
I mean, he would definitely bring some life to Eastern Connecticut, for sure. You know, and we talk about our local budgets, and I do a lot of blame game, you know, because I think a lot of our issues, our representatives, our senator, they go to Hartford and they fight for things that really don't mean anything to the people. And I hate to put you on the spot, Chris, but you know,
that's okay.
I've got to do it because you know you're actually going to be running. You're running for a spot. What is it that you can? You know, do you look at this and you're picking up? You know what's going on. What's your? You've got to have some kind of picture, is what I'm saying, and what is that, and how do you bring forward what you want?
I have some great concerns because, as we talked about earlier in the show, one of our state senators, Ryan Fazio, will not be state senator again. So automatically, we are going to be losing one of those Republican seats. Another Republican senator, Tony Wang, also will not be running again. So we're losing his seat. It's already a supermajority in both the Senate and the House in Hartford. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that this district flips, because I think that when you look at the district overall, and when you think of that Elon Musk map from 2024 after the presidential election, and it showed the sea of blue with the little red dot that was Windham County.
That's us, baby.
Yep, we definitely have the political environment where we could flip this district.
Right.
The biggest thing I see that's holding us back right now is voter participation. In 2024, I talked to, and I'm not even joking, hundreds of people. I knocked on their door, and they said, I have not voted in years because nothing changes. That sentiment has to go away.
Right.
Every vote counts. And right now, the legislation that is coming out of Hartford is ammunition that we can use because it does not favor these small towns. These small towns are the targets of this legislature. And you go beyond that, looking at individual freedoms, our constitutional principles that are being removed from us with this legislature that's been coming out for the past few months and the past few years. I do think that there is some sentiment of change that's coming about, and we are starting to see this. People are starting to say, you know what, I have to say no on this because it's affecting my wallet.
Right.
We need to have that same sentiment with all of our candidates, and with this election cycle coming up being a midterm, it's generally not going to have the same turnout as a presidential election, but we need it to have more than a presidential election turnout in order to make that difference. So when I'm looking forward for the next 6 months, and one of the targets that I'm really kind of hitting first is people who have not participated in the past couple of years, because many of those people have lost the motivation because they feel like nothing's going to change. But I bet you those same people are really unhappy right now with the increased cost of living in the past few years. So now it might be that time where I can go to those people and say, I know you haven't voted in the past few years or the past few cycles. I understand your frustration, but in order to change it, this is what has to be done, and we need to get out. And not just you get out and vote, but I need you to find 5 or 10 of your friends and bring them along too.
Right.
because that's what it's going to take. I mean, we literally need to have voter participation to be 40s, 50s. I wish we could get to 60% in 2026. If we could do that, I guarantee there will be a difference here in the 29th district.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, the 29th district is hard, right?
Yeah.
We like you said, we are solidly a Wyndham district, and Wyndham is that one bright red spot on this deep blue
the county maps,
deep blue map.
Yeah.
But it extends just far enough to the biggest public university's campus right over there in Mansfield, and there's a really good ground game by the Democrats right there over in Mansfield to turn out Democratic students, and it's a challenge, but every other spot on this district map is nice bright red.
You're right.
If you believe, and if you want your neighbors to have the kind of life that you want, and you want to have the kind of life that you want, we can do it. This district is a red district with one tiny blue dot, but we can wash right over them.
Yes, and I will say that I think that on the college campuses, there is, again, a change that's coming about. When I've gone up there and done events, Turning Point USA, College Republicans, there is starting to be a shift. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a huge shift, but there's going to be a shift. The other thing that I think that is going to help coming up, not only having access to the college campuses with organizations that are there to help political candidates and to bring politics onto the campuses, but I think that also one of the things that's going to really become apparent in the next 6 months is that our gubernatorial candidate, Ryan Fazio, one of his best assets is that he is a young candidate. He's going to be able to bridge some of that, where I think a lot of college students would look at Ned Lamont and be like, yeah, I don't know what I'm even going to talk to this guy about.
Right.
I think that Ryan bridges some of that gap. I think that also many young people that are now starting to pay attention to politics more don't like the polarization. And they're really getting beyond that. And for one party to kind of remain above that, and for one party to kind of show the way in this is how polite political discourse should happen, is going to help also. So I think those are a couple of big factors on campuses that are really kind of changing the sentiment. I think that for 2026 also, and this is only from my experience in 2024, there are a lot of students at both campuses who recognize that they really wanted to participate in the presidential election, but when it's a local election and they don't know who the candidates are, they really don't feel comfortable voting. Like a lot of them in 2024 were simply told, "Oh, you want to vote for Kamala? You vote row A."
Right.
Yeah.
That's not available in
That's true.
2026.
That is true.
You can't do that. So now you're going to be handing out a palm card or a door hanger with all these candidates. They have no idea who they are.
Right.
And if those candidates aren't there talking to them, presenting the issues, I don't think they're going to be as motivated to vote.
So I've been really happy with the amount of time that you and our second congressional district candidate, George Austin, have been spending up at Eastern, at UConn, because we can't cede that ground. I mean, those are young people, and they have a number of different political views, and we don't just assume that that's a Democrat stronghold. Now there are some real advantages, right, for the Democrats in Mansfield. It's a town of college professors and college students. Everyone who's running the operation and the game probably has certain political leanings, and that makes it hard to overcome. But I'm really happy to see that you're not giving up that ground, that you're putting in the time at UConn Eastern.
Oh, absolutely.
That you are candidates that you want the students to understand, and you want to be a viable option for them. You want to listen to what they're looking for, and that's going to count for a lot.
And one thing that I also noticed in 2024, and that I've subsequently found out in looking at data, when we're looking at retaining quality future business owners, employees, leaders in Connecticut coming out of our colleges and universities here, the ones like UConn are not being retained within the state.
Yeah.
Okay? It really is the community college, the ECSU, the CCSU, the WCSU students who are the ones that are staying within the district.
Yep.
Many students at UConn that I talked to in 2024 told me they were getting ready to graduate and they were not staying in Connecticut. They were going somewhere else for their advanced degree, or they're going somewhere else for a job. Right? If we're investing all this money into UConn to not have them stay here and help us develop this state, that's concerning to me. But I also want them to realize that if you're not going to stay here, think about the legacy that you're leaving as you're voting and who you're voting in. Also, know the district that you're voting in.
Yep.
Because they live in a very isolated little bubble in Stores.
Sure.
Yes.
By design.
And in talking to students a couple of years ago, I asked them, are you familiar with any of the other towns in this district? And they were like, well, what towns are there? I said, have you ever heard of Scotland? Have you ever heard of Pomfret? Have you ever heard of Canterbury? And overwhelmingly, the answer was no. So participate in our elections, make informed decisions, and think about the legacy that you're leaving here, because these students often are there for just a few years, and they aren't even there the entire year. And then you have students who are voting but then leaving the district to never come back here.
Right.
That's what makes the voters in the district feel disenfranchised when that happens. All right. So that's kind of my spiel on how this district is going to be in this 2026 election. I think that students really do understand affordability issues, though. And we talked to them. I was on campus at the end of 2025 asking them that exact question. I said, when you graduate, will you be able to afford to stay in Connecticut? And the overwhelming answer was no. And that's a problem.
It is. It's huge. It's. I mean, even people coming out and getting good job. I mean, and good jobs. You're not going to come out and be able to get on your own, making $30 an hour right now. It's cost prohibitive in Connecticut, and you would think somebody, a younger kid would say, "Well, I'm starting off at $30 an hour," and no. You are not going to make it on your own starting off today. It's just the money is not the same as it used to be. But we do have families that are, are out there. They are struggling on a lot lower money, but there's a lot of assistance. And now they're realizing that, hey, if I ever want to get out of this cycle and make a better life for my kids, I better start changing.
Yeah. Yep.
You had a few things you wanted to talk about at the end of the show.
We're getting towards the end of the show here, a few minutes left, and I'm going to give you a little preview for Thursdays right now. Hopefully you guys can both attend and co-host with me on Thursday.
I'll be there.
We do have a guest coming in, and this is a state representative candidate. Locally, part of his district is the southern end of Mansfield. The rest of the district is Brooklyn and Pomfret. It's the 50th state representative district. And for the second segment of Right Now, so the 3:30 to 4 o'clock segment, we'll have state representative candidate Jaden McCormick in studio with us.
There we go.
So that'd be exciting. And then also we will have a candidate who will be the state representative candidate for the town of Wyndham, who will be visiting us in studio also in the next couple weeks. And we hope that he's going to be on several times, because obviously this is a huge opportunity for him to message to the town of Wyndham and to the residents of Wyndham to get his messaging out there, to make sure that he's really connecting with the voters. You're going to have an opportunity to meet him over the next few months at many of the events that we'll be at in Windham throughout the summer. So we're really looking forward to having the state rep candidate for Windham, Brian Saucier, in studio with us again. Awesome. We will be covering some of the preview of elections for the next few months on right now on Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. You can tune in. And I think we'll also probably open up the phone lines on Thursday and try and have some conversation. Also, we asked some callers today to call in and discuss some of the referendum issues with us. If you want to prepare something for Thursday and you're a listener and you want to tune into right now, you can feel free to call in. Then we will obviously open up the phone lines and give the phone number on Thursday so you can join us there. We look forward to talking to everybody on Thursday afternoon.
Speaking of referendums, this Wednesday, 7 p.m., we're going to be having another Board of Finance meeting, a special meeting to decide how we're going to move forward on the budget and then advance it to referendum. There is a new budget referendum scheduled for June 16th, Tuesday,
Okay.
June 16th, at your normal polling places. But what will actually be on the ballot is going to be discussed this Wednesday at the Windham Town Hall, 7 p.m.
Yeah, so definitely get in there because this is what really matters. Let these Board of Finance members know what you're thinking. Let the town, let everybody know what's going on, what's going through your mind, because the only way to make a change is to get in there. We don't want them making the decisions for you. It's been a great. Also, I have to say that Brian Saucier what a great guy. I can't wait to have him on the show. I've known him for a long time. Great guy. But right now, we've got to come to an end on Unfiltered with Mike DeZonia, WILI, 1400 AM, 95.3 FM.